Hello students, today we will be discussing about the caste system in India. We all know that caste exists in India for many centuries and it still continues to exist even today. Caste is a very complex phenomenon and there is a lot of differences in opinions among scholars regarding the origin, its emergence, characteristics and the definition of caste. However, there is some unanimity on its characteristics given by J.S. Gurye. J.S. Gurye, the pioneer of sociology in India, has identified 6 major characteristics of caste system in India. Today we'll be elaborating on these 6 characteristics. The first characteristics identified by Gurye is caste divides Hindu society, or you can read it as Indian society, into a number of segments or divisions. We call these small segments as caste. Caste or jati. Some scholars prefer to call it as jati. Now jati or caste can be again further subdivided into subcaste and sub-subcaste. Now from the outside, Hindu society seems to be very similar and homogeneous, but in fact when we look deeper into it, we find that Hindu society is not homogeneous. There is a lot of differences among the various castes and the subcaste. Membership in a caste is determined not by selection or by achievement or ability. It is determined by birth. When a person is born into a particular caste, he or she should remain in that caste throughout his life. Therefore, we say that membership in caste is unchangeable, it is unacquirable, it is non-transferable. Now, each caste has its own caste name. Each caste has its own distinct way of life. Each and every caste in the Hindu society has its own customs, which are different from others, its own traditions, rituals and practices. Each and every caste also has their own informal rules, regulations and the procedure. In the earlier days, each caste also has caste councils or caste panchayats. The major function and the role played by the caste council is to regulate the behavior, the conduct of its caste members. The second characteristic of the caste system is it divides Indian society into a hierarchy. That is, the various castes and subcastes in the Hindu society is ranked into higher and a lower position. Therefore, we say that Hindu society is a gradational society. Hierarchy means division which are arranged in higher and lower position. Just like you have steps in a ladder, in that way caste and the subcaste and the sub-subcaste are arranged in a ladder-like fashion in Hindu society. In addition to this, there is a sense of superiority and inferiority ingrained associated with this ranking or gradation in Indian society. In general, the Brahmins usually occupy the top position in Hindu society and they are regarded as superior and pure. On the other hand, the untouchables or the Harijans or the Dalits, they occupy the bottommost position in the Hindu social hierarchy and they are considered as degrading and impure. Now, there are many other castes and subcastes that come in between these two extremes of the Brahmins occupying at the top and the untouchables at the bottom. In earlier days, each and every village in Hindu society or Indian society has a village panchayat or a village council consisting of not less than 5 senior elderly members, which usually belong to the higher caste of its village. These panchayat members command very high social privilege and respect in Hindu society. The major function of the village panchayat is to settle disputes regarding land, marriage, inter-caste issues, violation of caste rules, and sometimes any issues or disputes that may affect or harm the image of the particular village. The third characteristic of the caste system is restrictions on feeding and social intercourse. Caste rules are there in the Indian society that impose restrictions on food habits of the members. Particularly, the caste decides who should accept what kind of food and from whom. It is decided by the caste. In terms of food also, there is gradation in Hindu society. Particularly, there is pakka food and kacha food. Pakka food are those food cooked in ghee, butter or oil, and this is meant usually for the higher caste. And there is kacha food. Kacha food are food cooked in plain water, and these are meant for the lower caste. In general, no one would accept kacha food from any inferior caste. On the other hand, any kind of food that is prepared or cooked by a Brahmin is generally acceptable to all. This explains why Brahmins run many of the hotels and the catering services in India. Regarding restriction on social relations between different castes, we find that in the caste system, there is a notion of pollution and the purity, which are ingrained, inbuilt in the caste system. Pollution means a touch of a lower caste, whether a Dalit, a Harijan, or an untouchable, would pollute or defile a higher caste. Even the shadow of a higher caste is enough to pollute a higher caste man. For example, in Kerala, a Tiyan, which is a lower caste, should maintain a distance of 36 steps from a Brahmin. A Pulayan or a Harijan should keep a distance of 96 steps away from a Nambudri Brahmin. This brings about the practice of untouchability in the caste system. The fourth characteristic of the caste system is civil and religious disabilities and privileges. There are certain social and religious disabilities in the caste system. Lower caste or impure castes are made to live on the outskirts or periphery of the village. We find that particularly in southern India, lower caste people are not even allowed to live within the main village. They were required to live at a distance from the main village. In many South Indian villages, they live at a distance of around half kilometer or 1 kilometer from the village into the middle of the fields, called cherry. In South India, streets used by the higher caste are not accessible to the lower caste. Lower caste people also cannot use village wells, ponds, schools, and the other public utilities. They are also barred from entry to temples and religious places. They cannot wear fine clothes, jewelry, and ornaments. These are some important civil and religious disabilities faced by the lower caste people. While some of these lower caste people face certain difficulties and disabilities, there are certain other civil and religious privileges enjoyed by other sections of the society, particularly the higher caste and the Brahmins. High caste people like Brahmins enjoy certain privileges, including education and teaching, which were almost the monopoly of the Brahmins. Reading and learning are meant only for the higher caste. Their lands are taxed at much lower rates. This is another privilege enjoyed by the Brahmins. Even punishment given to the higher caste is different from those given to the lower caste for the same crime. The Hindu lawgiver Manu has pointed out an example in his work. He said, a crime for which a person is liable to be hanged to death, if that same crime is committed by a Brahmin, he will simply shave off his head as a punishment. So here we see the differences in privileges enjoyed by the higher caste and the disabilities suffered by the other lower caste people. The fifth characteristic of the caste system is restrictions on choice of occupation. Each and every caste and subcaste in Hindu society is associated with a traditional hereditary occupation. Gradation or ranking in occupation also exists in the caste system. Certain occupations are regarded as superior and sacred, while others are degrading and inferior. Each and every caste is also associated with certain traditional occupation, and the members should continue the same occupation. For example, weaving, shoemaking, sweeping, scavenging, tanning, washing, hair cutting, pottery, etc. are all considered as degrading and defiling occupation. On the other hand, priesthood and teaching are considered as highly prestigious and mostly pursued by the Brahmin caste. However, agriculture and the trade are mostly carried out by all the castes in Indian society. The sixth and the final characteristics of the caste system given by Gurye is restrictions on marriage. Each and every caste practice caste endogamy. Endogamy is a rule of marriage where an individual has to marry within his or her own group or caste. For example, an Iyengar should marry only an Iyengar. A Nonia should marry only a Nonia, etc. Intercaste marriage is strictly forbidden in Hindu caste system. Violation of the rule of endogamy is strictly dealt with in the earlier days. Caste provides exogamous marriage also, Sapinda exogamy and Sagotra exogamy. Offsprings from 5 maternal generations and 7 paternal generations constitute Sapinda, or sharing the same parentage, and therefore they cannot intermarry. Again, marriage outside one's own Gotra or Sagotra exogamy is also prevalent in India, because it is believed that people of one Gotra have the same blood. Therefore, marriage within the Gotra is also prohibited. These are the 6 major characteristics as given by Professor Gurye. However, due to modern influences, a lot of changes has come into the caste system today.